Hey everyone, I am TheChosenOneLegend here, as always joined by my co-host.
Hi, I'm Kai, also known as Fascurreyn.
And welcome back to the BunchaJokahs podcast, where we talk Nintendo news and other gaming tidbits from the past month. And I was going to say it's been a quiet month, but it hasn't. It's weird to think, but the actual Switch 2 Direct was the start of April, like...
Oh yeah,
that was
I forgot
recently.
about that.
Now we've already covered it because we recorded our previous podcast just after that, like the day after. So we won't be covering all of that here, but man, it's just been a month of people, reacting in crazy ways, getting misinformation spreading about different elements of the console and all that. It's been pretty wild to say the least, but that being said, among the weirdness, we've had some genuine bits of information. There's been some cool bits and some small little bits we've learned about the Switch 2 since. So we're mostly just gonna sort of cover all of that here. But are you ready then, Kai?
Yeah, let's do it. We've got just lots of random stuff, and it's like I guess it's been a quiet, month compared to like when the Switch 2 revealed, but. I mean,
yeah.
we would have loved this any time in the last 2 years in that sense, like, all this news.
Exactly. And let's just get started then with because it sort of targets you directly, this first piece, Kai. In our first segment of the podcast, can't have a podcast without news, baby. And just straight away, Inazuma 11 Victory Road, it looks like the game might actually come out, Kai. Believe it, I mean, I'm still waiting for a delay, but it seems visible now.
Yeah, we have got a new release date of the 22nd of August, I want to say.
Yep.
Yeah, so, that's here. It will probably get delayed again, but hey, it's getting closer and closer at least. We have not been this close since the start of development. We just had a trailer that dropped. It was 18 minutes, and it's like, okay, we had a Mario Kart one that was about that length, and that didn't really show much new. What's this one gonna have? Oh lord, we got a lot.
Everything.
They showed off everything. I mean, recapped some info, but there was so much new stuff, and I can breeze through the trailer that I have in front of me, but I won't go too much into everything. They showed off some story regarding the mode where you can basically, like the Chronicle mode, where you can go back and do every previous sort of match in the series. They brought back some characters actually from some of the games that you're not familiar with, called Chrono Stones. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
And one of the cool things I like about this mode they mentioned is apparently, and I don't know how the details will work, but they did show it off, is you get some kind of bonuses in these battles if you play the match similar to how it was in the game or anime. So they'll have certain certain shots you need to make or certain characters you need to do things, and if you do that, you must get some sort of additional reward. And I kind of like that because all the games have had what they call extra competition routes, where it will just be loads of random fights against themed teams, and they're fun. But having these extra objectives that you can do for stuff is just neat. So all of
what
that
I think this means,
great.
Kai, is that if for the version of this for the I can't remember what season of the anime it is. I think it's the second season. Every single goal is going to be get the hand tower wall combo, right? Just like every single objective for a solid 5 matches or whatever.
That genuinely might have been in there, actually. I'm not sure. I mean, there will absolutely be a thing where you have to score with Willy in that one match. So, there is that. So I think there's some value. We'll see. The only other thing I want to add hugely with that is apparently there's like a new side character who has a popular Japanese VA, which the reason I mention is there's a lot of random side characters who have popular Japanese voice actors, ones that maybe we don't recognise as much. But they are very popular out there, including like VTubers and celebrities and stuff. So I don't know how they've managed it, but hey, I'll take it.
I guess that
specifically
does
the one for the yellow bear is Fern's Japanese voice actor.
Oh, that's cool. I guess it does bring up the fact that it really does seem like we're not getting an English dub, I assume, at this point. Probably just because of how many characters there are in it and stuff, I suppose. But still, I guess it's fine.
I'm kind of okay either way. Like, you know, the Japanese voices are obviously good and pretty much a lot better, but there's a lot of charm to the way that they had the English ones. I mean, especially in the game, like, they gave Sean a really northern accent, and it was excellent. So, we'll see. But yeah, that mode's looking great, so I'll skip through that. They showed off a little more about like the daily life stuff, where there's, you know, lots of different sort of button command mini games and whatever else. Training modes, pictures, and then one of the things I just mentioned to you, which was that they only give you like half of a canon roster, and you kind of have to choose the other half. Which I think is really good, because they've always tried to have that be the theme of the game, of like, especially from the first one, they were like, there are all these characters to recruit, and you can choose which ones you want, pretty much like Pokemon. But then they started giving you canon teams, and like, I think after a while they just had fully canon teams, and that was it. So I like how they're almost forcing you to choose this time. So there's some cool stuff there, and I'm curious to see what everyone picks when the game comes out for those. We got loads of like bits of animation to sort of meet all the characters again. You know, got some names and bits, and that all just looks really good. You know, I'm really curious to see how they all come into it, because the games, as you know, they have story, but the stories are often very ridiculous and not overly like complex.
One way of putting it. Yeah.
You know, they're fine for what they want to achieve, but it looks like this might be going an extra level up in terms of what they want to do. We even saw that in the prologue, so that was good. So there's that. There's, you know, a bunch of just extra little things in the game that they chose. There's like a manager mode where you don't play the game, you just sort of tell the AI how you want them to play. There's a co-op mode for battles, so you can probably do like 2v2s or something, which is neat. There's skill trees that they showed off for some reason. The online, which we probably won't play because it'll be annoying, but it's there, and that's really good. Personal avatars. And this just goes all the way through to the end, where they said it's on pretty much every console. It's on Xbox, PlayStation, Steam, and Switch 1 and 2. It has that mouse compatibility. It's cross-play compatible. It even showed off the new Switch 2, like the thing where you can share screens and that in the game. And I think this is the first time outside of the original Direct and the Mario Kart one, of course, where that's been shown off. Which I take as a win. That's a huge win that it actually got to show that. In practice. So overall, I mean, this game is just doing a complete catch-all. I would not be surprised if this is the last game in the series, purely because they have put more into this game possibly than Smash put into Ultimate as a complete game. You know, it's very much that vibe, and I'm very excited.
Yes.
So just
it really
lots
does
of cool
feel
stuff.
Yeah, like a love letter to the entire series that's come before it.
Yeah.
Which is nice, given how it, you know, it almost felt like it had gone for a while, and it almost, again, felt like this game would never come out. But now it's... What remind me, Kai, what's the release date?
August 22nd.
This year. August, yeah. So that's, I mean, not long in the grand scheme of things, you know, it's going to come along quick. And given that we don't know a lot of other Switch 2 games coming out around that time, it's sort of a perfect sort of, I'll be picking this one up. I'll be probably raging online when I play you, but that aside, it sounds like a lot of fun, so
yeah,
bring on August, basically.
Absolutely. I'll probably do some content on it, I don't know what though.
Oh yeah. We'll definitely be, once we've got it, we'll be giving our thoughts here as well, definitely, so stay tuned for that. And I guess the next story we have here, which, keeping on stories that are more Kai themed here, Elder Scrolls. Not 6, that's still, who knows, but we got a remaster of Oblivion, the 4th game, just kind of shadow dropped out of nowhere. I don't know if there was build up. I don't follow the studio that closely, but suddenly it came out and everyone's talking about it as like a really good remaster, right?
Yeah, so you are right in that there was pretty much no advertising for this whatsoever. I think it had even, it had leaked ages ago that they were doing something along these lines. And then about a week before the release, they were like, people, leakers were like, oh my god, this is actually happening like really soon. Zero marketing for it. And then the day before it released, I think they released a trailer of some kind. I did watch it. I don't know why I'm saying I think. They definitely did release one. So they released a trailer the day before, and then they just released the game, and the sales were incredible. Like, it sold immensely well. Like, oh my god, Todd's done it again. Like, he's remade Skyrim so many times. He was like, hey, why don't I just do this with the one before? And he's done it.
Make every single option except release 6. Yep.
Yeah,
the
pretty
GTA
much.
system. It's
Yeah, so they've released it again, and I've looked into some stuff with it, although not all, so my information might be wrong. But to my knowledge, the number one thing is the graphics upgrade, of course. All the models and textures and things look better. However, they all retain the really awkwardness of the original Oblivion NPCs. I don't know if you've ever seen in any videos when you talk to an Oblivion NPC and they have a weird face. They still have weird faces. It's just in higher quality this time. And I think that's deliberate. I think they've chosen to actually keep them looking really weird because that's part of the game. And it's just that it suits better on a big screen now. So I find that really charming. And in that same vein, it seems like a lot of the game is quite similar in that respect. Like, they haven't changed much of the core engine necessarily. It is still the same and it's still awkward, but it just looks better. Apparently they have changed some things regarding gameplay. Like, basically anything that was really obnoxious before, they have changed. I do not know the details because I never played Oblivion. I watched my dad play it when I was like probably 8 years old or less, and that's it. So they have changed some stuff there, but yeah, overall, like, booming reviews. Everyone's saying, this is Oblivion, but it's great, looks great, feels great. So yeah, just like an immensely popular shadow drop. It was a real gamble, as these things go, but it paid off. So good for them. Personally, I do plan on picking it up. Not right away, but probably in a month or so. I don't know when I'll actually play it, but I am going to buy it soon. So I will probably have a review sometime in the far future.
Yeah, that's a cool one, because it really did sort of just blow up on the internet suddenly. Like, one moment I didn't like see people, calling for this or like demanding this get a remaster or whatever, and then it's everywhere. But it's nice to see it in the popular talk again this series. I mean, I never even got more than 30 hours into Skyrim. Then again, I've heard some people say this one's better. It's one of those that's very much up for debate, right?
Yeah, but, some people say.
It's, maybe I'll give it a shot. There's too many games. I mean, what's the, Claire Obscura Expedition 33 or whatever that everyone's been talking about? That's...
Yeah, we need to look at that.
Not much... Yeah, not much we can say about that other than that blew up on the internet and everyone says it's great. And here I am still bloody playing Xenoblade X, but that's a discussion for another day. So
I'll be real with you, I haven't started Xenoblade X still. I need to get round to that, otherwise we're going to have some problems.
Oh yeah, well, I have some thoughts, Kai. Not all positive thoughts. It's a mix, but we'll save that for another day. It'll be an interesting discussion when we get to that point. But to go back to some Nintendo news for now, our final sort of topic here is just a sort of assortment of a few bits of Nintendo news, updates on the Switch too, because like I said, there's been a lot of misinformation, there's been a lot of speculation going around, and Nintendo have played their cards pretty close to their chest still. They're not revealing a lot. But one thing I do want to point out is there's a bit of a controversy with game key cards, and they show this in the Direct, where some games, physical, have a cartridge, but you need to download to play the game. So it's basically the same way that the PlayStation 5 games all work nowadays. And what we sort of found out is that almost all third-party games are doing this. most likely because paying for the cartridges for the Switch 2 to be able to read them with the higher fidelity costs a lot more money, and they don't want to raise the price of the game. A lot of people are up in arms about this. I'm gonna be honest, I don't care that much.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts, Sky?
Yeah, we've had some discussions regarding price last time of like, God, go outside. Welcome to the economy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really have much extra to add about it, to be honest. It's just another thing that people are choosing to complain about. I don't know.
I understand people like wanting the physical games. Like, it's nice when they can be on the cartridge. I like that about the Switch 1, not having to do a download when I get it there, and just being able to put it straight in and play. But again, it's when you're getting with like games that are increasing their fidelity, that are doing 4K, 120 FPS. Yeah, it probably takes up more space, and it's going to come down to just business decisions, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So it sucks in some cases, but it is what it is, really. I guess the other thing here we found out is the update packs for the Switch 2 games. We got the prices for those, and what it seems to be is that for games where it's just the visual update mostly, like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, it's, I should have had the price in front of me, but it's about £8 or so.
Okay.
Whereas for updates where it's new content like DLC and a visual upgrade, so Kirby and Mario Jamboree, Mario Party, that one seems to be more around the £20 price tag, £19 along that lines, which I feel like that's pretty reasonable. I guess, how do you feel about that one, Kai?
Yeah, I mean, it's not great, obviously, because I think a visual upgrade should just be part of the purchase. So it's not excellent. The big thing that I do want to sort of express, and I'm just looking for it online before I get my facts wrong. I just want to remind people when they're looking at prices that you can buy Torn of the Golden Country for like around the same price.
Yeah, no, that's true.
I always I don't know why I use Torna as a point of comparison, because that's so reasonably priced for what you get.
It does feel like, when you put it into perspective of like £20 for the Mario Party updates, which granted look decent, but like, is that worth it when you compare it to something like Torna? Yeah, I guess, but then again, you could also say that with like the Breath of the Wild DLC compared to Torna. Torna's like a bit of an outlier in how great it is, but
it is.
If you compare this to like how much it costs for, again, the Breath of the Wild DLC, when you're getting the visual upgrade and new content, it's not bad. But I think it'll probably be like a case by case basis on, is this worthwhile to you? I'm still undecided on Kirby, to be honest with you, but I'm gonna wait for reviews on that one. And something new, Zelda, obviously we're getting the updates for free with NSO. They're the only ones we know that are doing that, but it seems there might be more in the future that are free with NSO, so hopefully. Some, like, if they did an update for something like a Pokemon game, like Legends Arceus is getting, I mean, even if I got that game, I probably wouldn't pay for that myself. If they did one for a Xenoblade game, then I'd pay an ungodly amount for it. It's gonna be value subjective, right? But this is like relatively in the ballpark of what I expected, I suppose.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I'm probably not going to buy any of the visual upgrades apart from maybe Xenoblade, but even that I'm not sure on. Like, it'd have to be significantly better. Yeah, the only other things to note in terms of pricing stuff is one thing, apparently they're bringing back themes. I don't know if you saw that.
Yes, I did see. I don't know if that's like a rumour or a leak or... Yeah, but there was talk that, I think in like the second update, that they're going to add both themes, some that are like use your coins for, some that are actually paid with money, which I guess would be like, maybe you can use coins to get basic themes, and then if you want a big Xenoblade redo, like the Gara Plains one or whatever for...
Or like animated
3DS.
Ones, imagine? Probably not.
Yeah, like, to be honest, it's nothing. I know people like make a big deal out of themes. It's like the big complaint you see about Switch 1. And I would like them. I used them on the 3DS, but I'm kind of like, I'll take them or leave them. At the end of the day, I turn on my console and go to a game as quick as possible. So it's not the end of the world if they're not there. But I would take them. Yeah.
Nothing beats the Xenoblade 1 wallpaper on the 3DS. That is still elite.
So good.
Like every time I open my 3DS, I just want to cry, and it's like, oh, that's not great. Yeah, and then the only other thing to mention regarding pricing. Have you seen how much like additional things cost in America? Because they wanted to keep the price of the console the same. Oh my god, it's crazy.
Each item got a slight hike. Obviously, you know, we won't go into it here, but the whole tariff thing caused like a moment where they didn't know if the console itself would go up in price or that. It's a bloody mess. Granted, I'm not even getting any accessories myself, but...
No, it's even like extra sets of Joy-Cons, though. Like, don't break your Joy-Cons out there, you know? It's gonna be crazy. You can't afford your eggs.
Yeah, that's true. There's been like a pre-order chaos of different people trying to grab things. UK here was relatively smooth, so we can't complain.
Yeah, I still haven't bought mine. I'm just gonna wing it on the day, and if it goes wrong, whoops, we'll see.
Yeah, there'll probably be some in store. We'll have to find out on that in that regards. But
I'll just take one from Sam. It's fine.
Just steal Sam's. Yeah, that's always an option.
He's got a history.
That's what he's here for. Very much so. The only final thing I wanted to mention was we got the release just today when we're recording this of the virtual game cards thing, where you can lend your digital games to other people. That came out literally today, and it's going to be more of a Switch 2 thing. But yeah, that looks pretty neat. I mean, I think we were like speculating about sending them to each other, but it does seem that to lend a card you have to be in proximity to send it locally.
Yeah, which is kind of a shame, because that defeats the point of it, in my opinion. You might as well just give the console at that point.
Technically, it's meant to be between family members, and they expect your family members to be people in your family, not people living miles away like we're doing. It's not because we're gaming the system, I suppose, but it would have been nice. I can't think of many uses, but I do have a friend who comes over often who's on my plan that maybe I could lend him some games. I guess it's more useful for the literal use of being in an actual family, having kids with games, than it is for how we're doing things, which... Hey, it's still better than not having the option at all, I suppose, but
yeah, it's as close as you can get, I guess.
That's really about it for now, but Kai, let's move on to our final segment of the podcast then, Games Time Baby, where we talk about games we've been playing over the past month. And start things off for us, Kai, what have you been playing in April?
Let's start off, should we start off with the one we've both done, or wait till last for that?
Let's save that one, shall we?
Okay.
We'll end on that one.
So what I have been playing is, I've played and I have now beaten, but I put a lot of hours into it, is Loop Hero. This is a game that Sophie gifted me, I think for my birthday. And I was like, yeah, let's play it. Like, I'll do this before I get onto Xenoblade X. You know, it can't be that long. I have 89 hours on record. That's within playing it within like 2 weeks or something.
Yeah, that's comparable to my X numbers in that time.
It's just a good time. And I guess to basically explain what it is you are a person, a fighter, I can't remember exactly, and the world around you is just destroyed, like it's just emptiness, and you know, memories and everything even seem to be gone. So the whole point of the gameplay loop is the hero keeps going around the same loop of a map, and you get to keep adding in things. You know, at base there's nothing on it. So you add the enemies they fight, which would obviously give them XP and resources. Any bonus effects you want to add around, like forests and rivers and mountains. But again, all of them give you bonuses, but then they also will cause certain enemy types to appear. So you've got to kind of weigh up what bonuses do I want and what enemies do I think I can deal with. So, you know, there's all these different things you can gain, different strategies to get different resources, because you can buy, or like between each gameplay loop, when you retreat with all your resources or die, You can buy upgrades that help permanently to sort of advance yourself. So there's all of this different element to it, and it's a very interesting game, especially to learn just exactly what to do, because I think the game deliberately gives you a lot of room to figure things out. For example, if you put certain things next to each other, it'll create new tiles. So that there's those certain combinations you want to keep an eye out for with different effects and different enemies that appear. The bosses are all really interesting, and they give some really interesting lore about how the world works. And the game's tough, I'll say that. Like, it's very tough, especially against the bosses, when you don't know the strategy. Once you figure out the strategy, it becomes very easy. And in fact, the final boss was the one I had the easiest time with, because by the time I got to that part of the game, I knew what to do. Like, I basically figured out the meta, if you will.
That's cool.
So I was like, okay, great, I can just play, I know what to do now. But it was a really engaging game, you know. Really fun gameplay loop is sort of the funny way to describe it, I suppose. It's on point. The story was interesting, you know. Every first time you meet an enemy that kind of can talk, there's kind of a discussion between them on why they're fighting rather than helping each other. And yeah, just overall it was fun. It was a fun little casual thing to have on the side, you know, do that while I'm watching Netflix or whatever else. So it was a good time, and I probably could go back and do some achievement hunting, but for now I have beaten the game. I really enjoyed it, and I'll probably sit with it from there.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, because I'd never heard of it until you were talking about it, honestly. It wasn't one I was aware of, but no, it sounds interesting.
Yeah, it's really fun. I don't know how much it's on Steam for right now, but it's a decent one.
Yeah, definitely keep an eye on that one. I guess I was going to say I don't use Steam that often, but the game I'm talking about next is also one I picked up on Steam, funnily enough, and that is the final Danganronpa game I have to play, Ultra Despair Girls. It has a reputation, you know,
it does.
for many reasons, and honestly, like, there's obvious problems with this game in its story, but those aside, I actually think it's genuinely a pretty good game.
I do want to be clear as well here. I had told you before buying it. Personally, I suggested you didn't buy it because I would not want that kind of thing in my possession if anyone were to check. So
yeah, that is a valid one. But then again, I also kind of figure, like, the only people who know are people who are fans of the game anyway, really.
That's true, yeah.
But that's like, I was actually going to just watch a Let's Play of it, like you suggested. And literally, I got down, I watched the first, like, few minutes of Luca Jim playing it, because I've been listening to her play, or watching her play the entire series. And just hearing her sort of, like, be intrigued by what the game is going to be, it kind of made me feel like, I kind of want to get that intrigue for myself, for better or worse, you know?
It's always better.
I kind of want to... Yeah, so I literally, that moment, I checked how much it was on Steam, and it was like £3. I was like, under a £5, that's enough for me to impulse buy. And I've just been gradually going through it over the past sort of month, 2 months even, amongst other things. And like, yeah, as a spin-off, like, gameplay-wise, it's a first-person shooter, but kind of like a puzzle game with it as well, where you get different bullets that allow you to manipulate the Monokuma bots in different ways to solve puzzle rooms. It's interesting, like, it's pretty basic. This isn't gonna blow your mind away, but then again, the gameplay in all the Danganronpa games is kind of iffy at best in, like, the trials and that. So this is, you know, nothing new there. But it's solid enough to, like, mix things up, have a different sort of experience for its story. And that's, you know, that's really what you're here for. It's a Danganronpa game. You want to see what the story stuff is. And in spite of, like, the curse stuff, which could be better, some sort of dark themes which they could have handled better, there is a lot of, like, interesting lore in there. The dynamic between Komaru and Toko is actually great. Like,
yeah,
I feel that's one of the best parts of the game, and that's the most consistent element to it. So, like, and I've playing this, I suddenly realised, wow, I probably really should have play this before, or at least watched it before the anime, because it really does lead into some things from there. More connections than I thought there would be. But like, yeah, it's a pretty good experience. Like for 90% of it, and you just have to sort of like it's. If you're a Danganronpa fan, you're used to sort of like rolling your eyes at some stuff and just pushing past it. It's an extreme example of that, but it's the same process. And like, I was surprised by this game being way more competent than I thought it would be, I suppose. So I'm glad I experienced it one way or another, and I think it told a pretty good story for the most part, I suppose.
Yeah, I think it did. Like, I think it does do a lot of good stuff and interesting stuff that adds to the world building.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're kind of vaguely talking about spoilers here, aren't we? In that, like, I do like how this kind of rounds out every survivor from the first game having something to shine in, whether it be the anime or otherwise. They all have something now.
Very true.
So that's really good. And yeah, Komaru's interesting, and some of the other characters they bring in. So there is a lot of good to it. So it
good
does,
voice
it does
cast.
enhance it. Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Good voice cast.
I think, to be honest, my biggest complaint even, like, outside of the obvious stuff, is I do think, like, it's lacking a bit where I wish they'd incorporated some sort of trial system in there somehow to make it feel more Danganronpa. I think had you not, like, you keep, like, the first-person shooter stuff, you remove the, like, investigation and school time sections, but, like, in between exploring the place, you go into certain bits where you have trial-like gameplay or something like that, where you actually have to like make decisions and figure things out.
I'm imagining like the Phoenix Wright Layton crossover where they kind of did it in there.
Yeah, something along those lines. Yeah, it's sort of a different take on the trial format for like a more just to like include the logic elements of it in there as well, because that's what feels so quintessentially Danganronpa. But for what it is, like, yeah. Pretty good.
Yeah, it's got some cool stuff in there. And I mean, who's your favourite character? Let's see that.
Well, I know who it isn't. That's Hygie. But it's that's a good question actually.
It should be an easy question.
Is it Monokuma Ball?
Yes, Ball Monokuma. Obviously, he's the best character in literature. You know.
I assumed you meant aside from that because it's like so obvious, but yeah, Bull Monokuma. Yeah.
Sorry, I should have said who's the best character. You know.
Yeah, there we go. That's his objective truth. But
Absolutely.
I suppose whilst we're on the Danganronpa train, there's something else we've both played over the past, at some point in the past year.
We played it like 3 months ago.
Yes, various degrees.
We've been busy.
I played it in December, actually. Yeah, but that would be Project Eden's Garden, right? The Chapter 1, I believe, finally came out. We've talked about the prologue before. We done that. You talked about it on the podcast before. But the full chapter for the first one came out, and it's damn good, isn't it, Kai? Like, holy shit!
Yeah, it's
insanely
really fun.
Impressive.
It's just a really good time to play. Like the gameplay is polished. It feels really authentic. They have every little element from there that you would have in the series. I think not only do they have everything from the series, they even go further, and I think they do a lot that's even better in that sense.
Yeah, I agree.
The first chapter was really interesting. I guess do we want to have spoilers or not? We should probably make that choice.
Oh, you know what? Screw it. Let's go full spoilers. It's the end of the video, so if you don't want to avoid it, you can switch off now. If you want to avoid it, even, but go for it, Kai. Let's go spoilers.
I was on the edge of my seat playing this, as you know. My brain was obviously quite scattered, but I was going through it nonetheless, and. It's just really good because the people who died were not the ones I expected. I very clearly had that number 16. They were the number 16 person I expected to die first when that happened, and that stuck with me. I spent about 15 minutes on that one screen of Wolfgang, which was really unfortunate.
Having
And
played
I've
the
also-
game before you, Kai,
Yeah.
it was so fun watching your reaction to stuff and watching you say stuff with like, "Oh, you're gonna regret that one later."
I was just
A
sitting
lot of
there
that.
thinking, please, Kai and Diana, you're my favourite characters. Do not go anywhere.
Yeah.
And I thought they both would. They were both given hella death flags. So I'm glad that they were both alive. And going into the trial, I did not know it was Eva until like they basically forced me to choose her, and I got it wrong a couple of times. That genuinely blindsided me. And in hindsight, maybe I should have guessed, but I was very much tunnel visioned and focused on certain other pieces of evidence that were misleading. So, there's thoughts there, but I mean, it was a really good trial, I thought, as well. Like, the investigation was a good little bit, lead up. There were lots of different factors to take in. Like, it was very, very well done.
Yeah, I mean, it's so authentic. It didn't feel like a fan game. It just felt like a new game by the Danganronpa team or whatever, but not just, like you say, not just how they made it feel incredibly authentic from the visuals and how great the music was and the story and all that, but the fact they're able to do new things with it. Like, it's no wonder why there hasn't been a Danganronpa since V3, because you kind of feel like, how many more twists can you do? How many more ways can you surprise people with 16 students murdering each other and a mastermind and who's that? Like, they're limited in options, and it gets to the point you're going to run out, but they find really fascinating ways to go about it. Like you said, with like the whole thing with Eva and her being the twist, which I'm just going to say, Kai, I did figure it out during the investigation. And,
I read your notes in Discord, yeah.
The evidence is there. But, like, also, like, that's the thing, though, it wasn't necessarily the case. There were other ways it could have gone. You definitely figured out parts of the murder that I really hadn't.
Oh, really? Like what? I wasn't aware of that.
I can't remember specifics. Okay. I'm not gonna lie, it's been too long. But I definitely remember like playing along and you picking up on story moments that took me by surprise, but you sort of clicked into them.
Okay.
Maybe more specifics of the murder and that before the actual who done it. But but it shows like the information is there, but it messes with you. And again, if you read my messages, you saw, even though I predicted that, I was constantly doubting myself, like, still.
Yeah, the how wasn't quite there.
Yeah, and because at first I was like, yeah, Diana, she's too obvious, I don't think it's her. But then she says something in the trial, and I'm like, or is it? It has that effect where it's not like, okay, we know here it is, get to it. It keeps you guessing, because you're like, I'm looking for a reason that I'm wrong. And often you do find one. And like, I feel like it's one of the best like first cases, like even compared to the Danganronpa series, right? Like the amount of character depth they have in it, the execution, which is one of the most brutal ones I've seen as well. Yeah. It's gut wrenching in the way that it should be, but it's not fun, but it is good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it did everything very, very well, and you can tell that it was made by a lot of fans who took a lot of time to think about how they wanted to do it. I mean, in that trial, like, I was so tunnel visioned on. I think I said this during the stream a lot, but just to reiterate, is that I was so suspicious of Kai because he had a lot of focus in Chapter 1. When the characters were first revealed in 2020, I thought he was going to die in the first chapter as the first killer. So that definitely primed me.
Right.
And then when it was like, oh, we're sleeping with him, but he wakes us up late, and I was thinking,
yeah,
like that has to be something. And then it turned out, no, that was nothing. He was just a dumbass, and that was it. But man, I was so conscious of that. Yeah,
it's conditioned us to think it's going to take away the character we most like. It's for good reason.
Yeah, and the main takeaway I think I had after the trial was genuine concern of like, this was really good, but there were, from the prologue, there were 3 characters who were clearly like the smartest or the ones who were getting on the most, and that was Damon, Ava, and Wolfgang, and 2 of those are dead now. So I was thinking, if the main character's now the only competent one again, is this going to become like basically like the second game where no one knows what they're doing? Or are they, there are other characters that are intelligent, of course, but they weren't dominating the scene like those other 2 were.
Now, Kai, this is the time
Yeah.
jet supremacy. You know, it's.
Get out of here, Scooby-Doo. Oh, what are you talking about? Yeah, so that's a genuine worry for me. Is like, I really hope this doesn't just become Damon dominating the trials.
Yeah.
But it is a shame that those two characters have gone, because I thought there was a lot of potential there. But I guess that's the point.
That's true.
I don't know.
Yeah, I just, again, it's we won't know for sure till more comes out. That's one of the other painful elements of this, is the fact that we have to wait who knows how long for the next chapters to come out, which will be painful. But yeah, they've written themselves into a very interesting corner. But given how well they did the first one, I really like to think they can write themselves out of it. You know, use this time to flesh out the other characters more. I mean, the fact, like I said, Damon being like so competent and so sort of aggressive. Not aggressive is not the right word, but uncooperative as a protagonist, compared to characters like Makoto and that, who are so meek. It's very nice, sort of a change of pace, and it makes things. It just emphasizes how this game has been doing things differently than the main series, and still finding unique ways to go about character dynamics. So I can only imagine it will continue. And yeah, it's.
Do you have a favorite character?
That's who. Now, it's been... I played this in December, remember? Or January.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to remember even everything. Who did I spend my time with?
To be clear, mine is Kai, just based on the virtue that it's the same name. So legally it has to be him. But then he did actually grow on me naturally.
And you two share the
anyway,
same brain cell. Yeah. that helps it. I can't... I remember liking... what's his name? The pirate guy.
Oh, Jean, yeah.
Yeah, Jean, that was it. I remember liking him. I think I spent one of mine 3 times with him. Yeah, very much like my D&D character, so that might be why. But, yeah, like, the thing is, I find it hard to pick because they're all really consistent, you know. It's, there's no weak link in the group. Like, everyone's interesting in one way or another, and that includes, like, again, really strong voice cast performing them as well. Like, don't miss a beat. Like, my only, I guess, like, the only sort of criticism I have is that I feel like some of, like, the trial bits, some of the bits you have to point out were maybe a little awkward. Some of the mini games were a little janky.
Oh, I did rage.
But
yeah.
But, like, again, that's not inauthentic to the actual Danganronpa series. So
there is no Hangman's Gambit to deal with in that sense.
Yes. Until they add one next chapter.
Who knows? They might. Hey, I just want to play more impossible. Of the Peggle game, you know? It's
yeah. I always take the one where you have to, like, use the sword strikes to, like, attack the statements. I just fundamentally have never liked how that works, and that's there. So, but again, it's authentic.
I saw you struggled with the final bullet hell minigame or something like that, which I actually did all right with. Like, I mean, I failed the actual final wording at the end, but that was it.
On the meat bone. But I think part of it, and this is just a me problem, which is why I haven't really mentioned this yet, is I don't really like using, like, mouse controls for games, and even games that are built around it. I'm used to playing Danganronpa with a controller, and that's just not an option for this one. So throughout the entire game, I struggled with, like, using the keyboard and the mouse and trying to reach all the buttons on it, and that was, or the keys, I suppose, on it. That's just a me thing, because I would be the same if I was trying to play the main series on a computer. But hey, you know, maybe shame that, you know, this obviously isn't going to come to Switch or something, but that would solve that for me. But yeah, that's just a control issue more than anything. I think that was
skill issue, I'd say.
But anyway, so moving on, I think that's about it, right? That's
pretty much. I mean, there was the Mario Kart Direct, but we already reacted to that, so you can see that there.
Yeah, we That was pretty good. There wasn't really too much, but like I said, you can find it on our channel. We did a full reaction to the 15 minutes and gave our thoughts for a while afterwards as well, so that's all compiled there. And I think that's about it. Yeah, that's been a been a pretty chill month, but I feel like next month, as we ramp up to the launch of the Switch 2, like, we will be recording the next video, like, days before the Switch 2's out, which is wild to me, now that I think about it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But, yeah, time goes quick. You wouldn't afford it all those years asking for a Switch 2 and Switch Pro and whatever, but now it's coming, it's wild. So, of course, stay tuned here on BunchaJokahs, where we're going to cover all of that as much as we can. Any major news, any big Switch 2 games, our thoughts when we get to Inazuma 11 and all that stuff. It'll be coming, and Xenoblade X somewhere down the line.
Yeah,
But you can find it all here on BunchaJokahs on YouTube or Spotify for the audio-only versions of the podcasts. And Kai, where else can people find you at?
Twitch.tv/Fascurreyn, playing through Nier Automata at the moment. So, yeah, some interesting stuff going on there.
Definitely been a fascinating one. And myself, I've been going through the multiple endings. Similar train there, isn't it? But the multiple endings of Zero Escape 999. So, check those out on twitch.tv/TheChosenOneLegend if you want. There will be a link to both channels in the description below, as well as to our friend Sam, who does the graphic design work and all that jazz for our podcast. Thanks once again, Sam, begrudgingly. And we'll see you guys in the next video. Take care and goodbye.
Alright, bye.